All right, so this is special and crazy and awesome all at the same time because the car I'm sitting in is an Acura. It is not a new one. This is a 2001 Acura Integra Type R. This car has been loaned to me from Acura for a week, and it was pulled straight off the floor of Acura's little museum in Torrance. The odometer, when I got it, showed 4,622 miles. I know. When I say this is special, I don't just mean because it's a low mileage, older vehicle, specifically because of what this vehicle is. The Integra Type R is the best front-wheel drive car ever built. You have to rewire your brain to drive this thing because the red line is 8,400 RPM. The VTEC changeover doesn't happen until 5,700 RPM. Peak horsepower is at 8,000 RPM. You drive this like a motorcycle. At the time this came out, it had a greater horsepower per liter ratio than the Ferrari F355, 108 horsepower per liter. So we're dealing with nearly 200 horsepower from a naturally aspirated 1.8 liter engine. The B18C VTEC Yo powered motor. It totally changes the profile of the engine. Let me do that first. It totally changes the profile of the engine, and you hear it, the VTEC changeover, right around 5,700 RPM, and you know you are into awesomeness. Oh, right there. The magic spot. I could make a sex joke there, but I don't have to hunt for this one. I know exactly where it lives. So let's back up. The first year that the Integra Type R came to the United States was 97. Acura offered another run in 98. It took a break in 99, and then 2000 and 2001 it came, and that was it. 2001 was the last year. In total, the production run was about 3,800 vehicles. By comparison, the first-gen Acura NSX made nearly 9,000 vehicles. This is far more rare than the original NSX. So, we have that engine up front. It is backed up by a 5-speed manual gearbox. And yes, it feeds the front wheels, which you're like, oh, that sounds terrible. It is not. This thing is a blast. Turn-in is sharp. There's a limited slip differential up there. The suspension is stiff. And the 15-inch wheels, there's surprising grip on the tires wrapped around them. I'm amazed at how well you can just toss this into the corners. Probably part of that is because this thing weighs around 2,600 pounds. So of the day, they had the GSR, which was below this and made 170 horsepower, which was like a cool enough vehicle. But this dropped some weight, upped the power, and kicked the asses of just cars it should not have. Now, some more backstory. I personally owned a 2000 Honda Civic SI, which is kind of the Honda sister car to this car, if you will. It was not as insane as the Type R. It is not as rare as the Type R, but it was, for me, the most entertaining front-wheel drive car I'd ever driven up to this point. There are some European cars I haven't driven, which are supposed to be wonderful front-wheel drive vehicles, and I'm sure they're awesome. But I am not driving them right now, and they don't have that red Type R badge on the back, and you cannot make VTEC Yo jokes the whole time you're doing it, so this one still wins. And it looks gorgeous in its Phoenix yellow paint. They only offered the Type R in 3 colors. Initially, you could get these in championship white, then there were 2 years of just black, and then the Phoenix yellow is the most common Type R out there. The 2 black colors are the rarest, and then the white one after that, I believe. I could be wrong. I've messed up facts and figures before. Facts and figures. The shifter The throws are short and tight and precise. The steering, I already told you, is excellent. It's perfectly weighted. It's perfectly assisted. You can feel everything you need to feel in the road. It's a revelation compared to modern cars, really. You know, everything you're doing, it's light, but it's not overly light. There's enough little bit of boost there that it doesn't feel like a non-power steering car like some of those early NSXs, which are great, by the way. I've driven a non-power steering NSX and I loved every second of it, but this is nice too and more livable on a daily basis. The seats are comfortable. It goes back to my theory that my hypothesis that Acura makes some of the best seats in the industry, and all the way back in 2001, these were super comfortable. This is sublime. It is fantastic. And when it was new, it was $24,000, which at the time was a good chunk of money. Not like a crazy amount of money, but it was a lot to ask for someone to spend for a little Japanese hatchback. If you bought one and held on to it, though, your investment has proved worthwhile as long as you've taken care of the vehicle. These are 60,000 and up now with the mileage this low. And this is crazy low. When Acura dropped this thing off and I saw that the odometer, I thought this was going to have like 40,000 miles on it, which is still low, but when they loaned me an NSX years ago that had around 40,000 miles on it, this showed up and said 4,622. I almost didn't want to drive it. I don't get nervous with any press car. I treat them well, I respect them, but I don't get nervous about them. If something happens to them, it's a modern car, it's insured, oh well, we move on. This is a piece of history. This is Acura's literal own history. It came off a museum floor and it has so low miles. If I'm on the freeway here in California driving this, I am literally nervous about every other car around me. I feel bad getting my hand oils in the steering wheel. My daughter was walking in the garage next to this and I said, back up, stay away. I didn't scream at her. Don't be ridiculous. I'm being dramatic here. But I am not being dramatic about the fact that I do get a little bit nervous in this thing because it's wild. And I'm not holding back driving it though. I am enjoying it. I think Acura would want me to enjoy it. Exploring the VTEC changeover. I mean, the brakes, because this weighs nothing, are excellent. Like I said, this thing turns in far sharper than it has any right to do. I would own this, and I'm going to lose some of you here, I would own this over the S2000. Yes, I said it. I was never a huge S2000 lover. The car is cool, I don't care for convertibles, and you always had to rev the crap out of it to get anywhere. You have to do the same here, but it feels a little bit less so. You don't have to absolutely just torture the engine. It feels like it loves living up there in the higher part of the rev range, where the S2000 was like, okay, I guess I'll go to work now. And I haven't driven one in a while, so maybe rose-colored glasses, and this is the current one. I haven't driven one, like I said, in a while, and yes, that one is rear-wheel drive, but I'll take the best front-wheel drive car over that, and I'm going to get torched for this, and I will respect the difference of opinion here, but I like the rarity of this one compared to the S2000. I like that it actually, you can use that back seat, surprisingly. This seat's farther back than it needs to be. I didn't put the car seat in this one because, again, it came from the museum, and I don't want to leave car seat indents in it, but I'm sticking to my guns here. Integra Type R over S2000 for me personally, 10 times out of 10. Talking stock off the showroom floor or out of the museums if you're so inclined. This car is so good. This is a meet your heroes moment. It lives up to the hype. It drives as wonderfully as you would imagine it would. It almost feels like it almost feels like it's being restrained in that it wants to rotate, which that might be being a bit crazy here, but I know the rear end, the suspension is pretty stiff to generate some movement if you were to drive this in anger on a racetrack based on older reviews I've read. Normally I don't read reviews of cars that I'm about to drive, but this one I'd like to hear what people said about it when it first came out. And there was a Car and Driver review on the 97 Type R that said if you weren't careful, you could get in over your head on this vehicle, and that makes me more excited about it. But here on Ortega Highway, which is relatively light on a day like today, You get a nice clean run. The car just rips and goes and enjoys. It feels like it enjoys being pushed. I mean, it's like, okay, waiting, cam profile adjust, let's do this! And I love that about it. Let's listen for that familiar Honda starter noise. Ooh, chit. There we go. There's been a couple times out on the road where I've driven past someone going the other way. Like I remember a guy in a Miata on a canyon road. He came around a corner, he saw this, and his face literally went, he made the emoji, and I get it, and I laughed, and his reaction was spot on, because seeing one of these is rare. It is a unicorn on the road. I cannot believe I've had one in my garage for the past week, and I love it. I love this car very much, and I cannot thank Acura enough for letting me borrow it. I don't know what convinced you to let me borrow it, but I appreciate it. You are appreciated. Ooh, what year did that come out? Ooh, child, the Type R makes everything better. What a brilliant, brilliant car. This is easily one of my top press cars I've ever borrowed. No question about it. No question about it. I should make a list of those someday. A list. Like, those are probably boring videos, but it could be interesting if I could figure out which press cars would be on the list. This is on the list, and it is near the top of the list because it is so special and wonderful, and I love it. You have a friend who has one, beg them to take a spin in it, find one somehow, because it's wonderful. It's wonderful.